Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 9th of January to the 15th of January. And first, for a reaction video, I figured there's two videos that are like AMV related, or I'm assuming they're AMV related, because I haven't watched them yet. This first one's from GilLiesHere. Let's go at the end of my prayer, and I just wanted to record that, my reacting to it, because I just think that'd be. I always find I've been realizing lately, like, just the reactions are a little more substantive than the I watched it and these are my thoughts and I don't remember. It was good, right? So I thought maybe this would be a little more substantive, but I'm assuming this is something more AMV related, but it could be different. I don't know. Anyway. Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy shit, Brigadoon? No! 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 Man, shut the fuck up. Huh? Huh? What's that? I know it's just Twin Peaks, but... Oh, it's more Brigadoon, yeah. Okay. Great. Great composition idea. I love that. I wish I had more consideration for that when I do these opacity layer things. Oh, was there like a you were repeating the footage a little bit, or was that from the original? I'm not familiar with Twin Peaks. Oh yeah. Like, of course yeah, it makes sense to give a little more texture to that. That's so interesting. Wow. All the I don't know if it's rasterization. I don't know what you would call it, but like, you're manipulating the color of the footage first and then doing opacity layer on top of that. It's so smart, obviously. Oh my god. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Wow. Nice. Wow, that was good. That's a nice match cut, I think. I assume it's a match cut. Is this fireworks? Because I saw the little Hanabi thing. I don't know if it's that movie. I haven't seen that movie. That looks great. I'm very happy with like how often you're willing to just show nothing but black for a second or two. I have no balls. I don't have the balls for that. Oh man, that's gorgeous. Yeah, in terms of like your style and everything, it isn't just the little opacity layers and going on top of each other. It's how you're using light and shadow. And you're not like, it's not so much synchronization, it's not so much syncopation in it. Like, the music's just like there. That's syncopated, obviously, but like, it's just cool visuals with cool music. It's not necessarily like the two of them interacting with each other as much. There is some of that here. That's nice. Wow. Oh, is that part of the footage or something you added? Oh my god. Oh my god. Happy to have you back there, Gil. Wow, I really enjoyed that. Sorry I talked over so much of it. Well, people who just, enjoy it, whatever. It's fine. And yeah, I always also have this insecurity with my AMVs where it's like there needs to be some kind of like particular emotion to it, or motivation behind doing certain things this certain way or whatever. Like, you see, I am depicting explosion. This is the part of the song that makes me think this, so it's like a very one-for-one type of thing. But like, you don't hold the viewer's hand at all here. Like, a less astute, or like maybe even too astute may actually be the right word for it. They'd be like, what does this shot have to do with these shots over here and this shot? What was the correlation? Like, there's a lot of like, what the fuckness or something. I don't care. it's just gorgeous visuals. But I'm sure that there is meaning and everything, of course, to it, with the the song, the lyrics, and everything like that. There is an intention behind it. It's just not basic. It certainly goes over my head, but it never bothered me. It never bothers me with your stuff, because it's just such great moment-to-moment enjoyment of music, and again, like, not knowing of the immediate intention and stuff. I definitely also think it helps when you don't know the material. When it's Brigadoon, I was familiar with that show. I'm familiar with those visuals. I've made an AMV to it. So that's kind of all I think about, is just the implementation of those things and how you depict these shots and everything. But when it's shots like, you know, this Twin Peaks one, where it wasn't until this part, I can go frame by frame, like there, I didn't even like recognize that you did some kind of thing with the motioning here. I don't know precisely what you did. I can tell he was doing definitely something. It's similar. It's probably similar to like what I did with the Guts video, overlay up like layers on top of layers or something like that. But like when you're not familiar with the material, it makes it way more engaging. Not like this wasn't engaging for me or anything like that, obviously not. But I'm more wowed about like what you do with it, versus when it comes to this section here, I have no idea what the sources are here, so all I'm paying attention to is what you're showing and how you're showing it, I guess. Honestly, the visuals at some points were so captivating that the song completely blew over my head. And maybe it was because I'm talking over it, right? That's fair. I can understand, maybe... But I don't know, it's just for me, I guess, with reaction content, when I make it, at least, I want it to be very substantive and like not just reproducing the video and me having absolutely no reaction or any commentary, and then just be like, I liked it at the end, even though that would be the more respectful thing to do, right, on paper. But I don't know, maybe it's the culture of YouTube reaction content, right? There was that whole mockery of like, with reaction content, you just stare at it and not give anything additive to it. So it's like you're repurposing it, basically. Yeah, I'd never think to do this, like it seems like you're inverting the color sometimes, or putting certain like visual, like lumetri color or some other kind of like color layers to make it a certain amber, like this amber stuff. It reminds me of like the settings on Premiere, at least, with their like the Kodak something, like blue and whatever. And I remember finding those and like I'm never gonna use these, you know. And for some reason, but I'm like, that's so nice. It just creates a very particular look to it that is super captivating, especially with just, you know, the amount of blacks and everything. It's incredible. Yeah, wonderful work as usual. Couldn't expect anything less from you. And now I demand better, and you can only go up. No, I'm just happy you had the creative juices here for this. I'm looking forward to the thing that you're working on that you mentioned in your server that I totally remember. I think it's a book, right? You guys are working on a fucking book? That's crazy. That's so cool. Big fan. I don't know how the stages that'll be in, but looking forward to that. Yeah. But we're not done. Following that up, maybe a tough act to follow. APLattanzi put out an AMV. Whoosh. I'm surprised. And I mean, I usually try not to like cover people's like the same channel twice in a week or whatever. Especially I was I've been noticing number of, like, it's probably been the past 3 or 4 digests where I've not been clicking on people's videos to watch later, because it's a lot of the same stuff that I've already kind of talked about in previous digests. And I'm looking for stuff like this where it's like, oh, I'm not, APLattanzi is making an AMV. I don't think I've ever talked or covered something like this, so and I'm interested type of deal. Whereas so often it's like, I probably would talk about this video in another context, but I've talked about similar videos from the same creator before. So it's just, I don't know. So that can be a challenge for me. Other people like I couldn't care less, actually. I will talk about every video of theirs because it's incredible. Anyway, but yeah, let's check out Whoosh. I like the music choice. I'm not familiar with it. And you're letting the clips breathe a lot. Already the aspect ratio, interesting. I'm sorry, I'm such a nitpicker. The aspect ratio, another clip that's like keeping the aspect ratio very as intended. I am not doing that in the video I'm working on currently. I mess with the aspect ratio quite significantly. Is Neo Tokyo's in better quality than this? But maybe that's intentional. The differences in quality are also interesting. Yeah, I like this song. You're holding the shots quite a lot, which is very classic, very like old school AMV, I think, which is nice. Oh, I love that shot from Project Eden. Yeah, that was fun to work with when I made my MV. Sorry. What was that from? Ooh. Is this Down Under? I could be wrong. Because especially I'm probably wrong because it's in 4x3. Memories, right? Magnetic Rose. Very eclectic mix so far. I don't think there's been any repeats so far. It's always just been like bound to the next show, next show, next show. I'm sure you have all the explanations in the maybe you don't. I don't know. I can expect you'd have something in the description or something. Also, not too much in the way of syncopation. It's really just like letting clips play and everything. It's obviously like that was the point of the song versus this part in the visuals. Oh yeah, Robot Carnival. A lot of good stuff to pick from there. I haven't edited from that yet, but man, I bet I can't imagine. That's a great shot. What the hell is that from? Is that also Robot Carnival? No. I don't know what that's from. That's really nice. This is what's great about AMVs, is when you expose people to media they wouldn't have normally seen before. This is War in the Pocket. I don't know why I'm still like... I guess because the AMV demands it, or at least it feels that way to me, where it's like you're showing off of these different things. So I'm like, oh, I recognize that, and that. We're back to Nemo. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like the choices here. I'm starting to get it because it's whoosh and yeah, I get you. I would be way too obsessed over the music choice here in terms of like what I match it the visuals with, but it's really incredible the restraint you're showing. That's a great sync, actually. I love that shot of Eden, of course. Yeah, there's so much good stuff from Robot Carnival. Oh my gosh. Original macros? This is a great song for sci-fi related shit, man. Good one, yeah. That has a little more quicker cuts to it for sure. I'm obviously coming from this brain because I'm editing something that similarly. Oh yeah, that's a nice way to end it actually. Similarly, kind of like tightly pasted a lot of like sci-fi visuals and shit, and just like spoiled for choice in what you can show, especially when you have this many sources to take from. Clips for more or less along the lines of flight and yes, of course. That's lovely. There was some Be Invoked in there. I didn't even notice, or maybe I mistook that for Macros, the original series, because yeah, you don't have Macros TV. You just have Do You Remember Love? Was that just silly? I think I was a silly Billy. Yeah, this is probably Ideon. Yeah. Oh yeah, that guy right there. Oh yeah, that's the I forget the name of the spacecraft, but that's what they're on. That's the thing they're on, and then Ideon is like the mecha. But of course. Yeah, I liked that. That was nice. It is just distracting for me. That it's really just a nitpick, honestly, of like the variance in aspect ratios. It's not just like widescreen or 4x3, but also like some of the super widescreen and stuff like that, and little bits like that. I think it for me, it like makes for like a smoother experience if everything's all in one, you know? Like this shot, I'm not familiar with the Mobile Suit Gundam movies, but I figure there's a 16:9 version of this shot. Yeah, I hate to, I don't know if I'm sorry if I'm like nitpicking or whatever, but yeah, it's like I would have gone my way to find stuff like that. And of particular quality too with Neo Tokyo. I don't think this is in I think this is in higher quality, and again, and it's just a matter of like immersion. For me, it's just a matter of immersion with AMVs, where if you have something in really good quality, matched with something else, and like some of that you can't help, you really can't help it. Like I think Interstellar 5555 is kind of not in great quality. I think it's trapped in the quality it's in because of its mix of digital effects and everything, at least from what I can tell, like what I'm gonna assume. And it's obviously in 4x3 as well, even though being a movie or a TV movie? Was it a special or something? Like, why is it in 4x3? I don't know. But like that, meaning that like I didn't feel all that great using the footage extensively for the video that I'm making currently, which I won't fully give away yet. But 5555 is in it to a brief extent, in part because of that footage. Yeah, I thought this was nice. It actually, like, the concept, having it more be about clips of flight and stuff like that, and how uninterrupted a lot of the scenes were. This felt a lot more like a Sakuga Mad, where you're just displaying an animator's some of their cuts and everything in a way that's completely unobtrusive, uninterrupted, no flashy overlaying, messing with the footage or anything like that. So and for that reason, I did like it. That was a nice experience, and again, I liked the music too. I wasn't familiar with it. Yeah, I liked that a good deal. Thank you so much for making that. That was nice. All right, and time for some videos that I thought were not good. I hate to be negative, Nancy, and everything. And thankfully there hasn't been anything that, like, there are some videos that I could click on and I'm just like, I could get a lot of rage out of this, and I won't do it because I just don't want to subject myself to that shit. But I was really excited and interested to hear from Joey about the real reason why everyone is quitting the anime industry, and I wanted to know what he was taking from, because usually these types of videos that he makes with, like, his face on one side and the thing on the other is mostly him, like, reacting and reading off a news article that he sees and then giving his thoughts about it in the style of, like, what Fantano has been doing on his second channel, just occasionally giving making videos about news situations or rankings and a little more casual stuff like that. That's perfectly easy and fine to edit. But the reason it's not good, I feel bad because it's like, he's mentioned as much how much he doesn't like to talk so much about anime content anymore, and the reason is he's realized that there are other people who are better qualified at doing it than him, or better at it, or whatever. I don't want this to mean like I'm discouraging him from talking about anime. He's always wrong or something. There's some people who think that, but I don't think anything he said here was inherently wrong necessarily. But I just think it could have been more productive. I get that this is just supposed to be easy content, not trying to make any rigorous whatever. I'm just kind of saying, like, you make a video like this, 95,000 people could watch it, or even more in a day, and I think you could do better than citing a comic book report, a CBR article, just reporting this small bit of news that Chancellor Vincent Chance. I saw a lot of people call him Vincent Chancellor for a long time, and then I checked his Twitter handle. It is Chancellor Vincent. At least that's how he's going by. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. But it's the news about him on a live stream talking about how he's never going to work for Mappa again. Even though I don't even know how many cuts he did for JJK season 2. He did the one pretty substantial one in the big landmark episode everyone couldn't shut up about. But he didn't do that much work for them. I'm not trying to belittle the work he did do them, which was significant. And I also like that he talked about is like, yeah, the director of that also doesn't want to work for Mappa, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see if that ends up being the case. And it does kind of, the future is kind of bleak for that production and for that series in particular, if everyone got scared off the same way I think everyone kind of got scared off of season 1. Like, it was a different crew from season 1 as it is for season 2, and then it just happened to work out that way. And now season 3, what's that gonna be like? Interesting. It'll be interesting to see. But I just think I wonder if the reason he's citing from Comic Book Report about this one little thing, and then making a whole video about it, instead of, I don't know, there's several incredible articles from Sakuga blog that have been reporting about the entire JJK production and everything, talking about this, I forget the acronym, but it's a new organization that is trying to kind of organize voice actors and animators kind of in a way to sort of unionize, but not really unionize, because they talk about why, because obviously there's this much greater awareness of the conditions of the anime industry, and a lot of fans might be like, why don't they unionize? It's at least according to these animators, Terumi Nishi, and the other people in that organization, it's because they don't want to. They a lot of animators really like the freedom of being freelance and not having to go to the studio and be able to kind of work on whatever production. Instead of, if they were unionized, it would be a lot more structured. They would have more safety and benefits, and like could have some sway into better conditions, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to work from home and have all the flexibility and freedom that they have. So that's the kind of, but Joey kind of boils it down to like his and this is, he obviously has way more experience having direct contact with anime industry and living in Japan and knowing more Japanese people and seeing those types of businesses, working with a Japanese company himself, right? He says that they don't strike is because they're afraid to. And that could be true. There could be some element of truth to that, but like, it didn't come off that great to me. You know what I mean? It like, I feel like that sort of like, it feels like an antagonistic claim, and you should have some evidence of be like, here's some people that have claimed that like, I'm too scared to unionize. And I get that there's fear in even saying that, so good luck finding a quote or anything like that, but I just felt like it was too much of an assumption. You know what I mean? But really, it was just like I just think he could have done better with citing more, not even like citing and drawing his own conclusions. I honestly like, I know maybe it's because he maybe would get some heat for doing this sort of video to a Sakuga blog article and just reading it out loud and kind of regurgitating it, and maybe people get pissed about that, and because they're independent, whatever. And CBR is this big corporate whatever that is all it's doing here in this instance is citing a tweet or whatever from a clip from somebody's live stream that they translated, and just like the most direct you can do, basically, but not taking from like an independent blog that I could actually be doing more substantial research. And I apologize. Saga Blood was doing this stuff with JQK Season 2, but I believe what I read with the union and everything in Terumi Nishi, those interviews, is from Full Frontal. And Full Frontal is very similar, where like, how much would they appreciate someone like Joey just kind of reading off. You can literally see the screen, like him reading it. So it's not plagiarism, it's just regurgitation, I guess. Ultimately, I don't want to discourage these types of videos that Joey's making, and maybe I'm being more vocal in a sore spot because it's an anime related thing. It's totally fair. I just think that like there's an usually by not goods, it's like, not usually. I feel like this was just an opportunity that wasn't taken, where you could do this for a Full Frontal article and Sarko blog article and spread those ideas to a wider audience, because you have that platform. And am I doing enough? Not doing enough for your platform. You get it. It's your platform, really. Who am I or anybody to dictate what you do with it? I just see there's an opportunity for improvement, I think. But I also get maybe his the downsides to that of like taking from an independent, so smaller group like Full Frontal and Sakuga blog than some big corporate thing like Comic Book Report. I guess that's fine. I did also write down he kind of just, it goes on a rant towards the end, like kind of the last third of the video feels much more like a rant that we could have heard in 2019, to be honest with you. I don't know, it just didn't feel super relevant, or I mean, it was relevant, but it's not too additive. I don't know, I feel like learning, like if you were like learning with the audience that from an article, like you could with like Sakuga blog and other things like that, and I don't know, I think there's more discussions like this to have been had. whereas the things that the talking points here was a lot of the similar stuff. And he says towards the end, it's like either it all goes away, like oh no anime whatsoever, and it's like That's what some people are like. I mean, I don't know if that's really ever happened, where like an entire art form, like an art form like this, has gone away completely. There's certainly some things that are not monetizable anymore because the audience doesn't demand it, like puppetry. There's still but puppetry still exists, right? It's just not mainstream. It's just not it's not it, right? It's not the thing that like people are rabid for. I think that demand is not going to go away. So the supply, it's going to break down, and I think what Joey's kind of saying like it probably deserves it because of the way it's treating these artists. That like some of them are dying, and or everything. Yeah, yeah, I think it does. I'm also kind of hoping for a downfall almost, because they do deserve better. I think that's the fan mentality to have. It's just doesn't make any sense to me that it's like going to go away completely. No, it's. I think it's going to suffer another. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to go away completely because the demand isn't there. It is still because the demand is still there. A business obviously can collapse and everything like that, certainly. But this isn't one business. This is an industry. This is a medium with a lot of studios doing this exact same thing. So it would have to be like all of them collapsing at the same time. I don't really see that, right? But a lot of the industries collapse and change due to audience demand, right? Where when cars were invented, suddenly blacksmiths were really out of the job because so much of their income and everything was from horseshoes and for things for horses, not so much for cars, is an example. Or certain aspects of blacksmiths were more than just that. And yes, just like that, blacksmiths themselves didn't completely go away, but they're not. They're like, I'm going to be a blacksmith when you know what I mean? It's not like an engineer or something like that. I don't know. It just felt a little too big to just be like it all goes away, or maybe it's hyperbole. I'm just nitpicking it, maybe, or it all becomes CG. Which, like, I think is sort of trying to, like, fearmonger the audience or something. Because it's CG, he's like, oh, no, it's fine and everything. But it's not anime. It's not like it's not like what it's known for. And look at Earwig look at Ghibli putting out this shitty CG movie nobody liked. And then turning around and doing Boy and the Heron. Completely ignoring the fact that Boy and the Heron was in production. It's starting in 2017. And Earwig and the Witch came out 2020. They were producing it that entire time. But the thing is that they didn't want to crunch those artists. And they didn't. And it became a much more healthy production for that. And yeah. But like, so that was just a weird comment. But more than that, it's just that like, anime is becoming more CG. There's a couple of these productions that are really surprising and interesting, and they have a really good approach to keeping what feels like anime and doesn't feel like Puss in Boots CG animation in the Spider-Verse Western, whatever. It doesn't feel like what we think of as CG. It still feels like anime, but it is clearly computer-generated models and stuff like that. And not even just talking about Orange. There's these idol anime that are coming out, and not just like Love Live, just the sequences. Like, was it Bang Dream? I think that's the name of it. I don't know. There's I talked about somebody's video a month or 2 months ago, so a little while ago at this point, on Digest about this one series, and like CG's really good. Not even like good for whatever, but like it didn't. I forget that it's CG. Because it otherwise is storyboarded and kind of animated like anime. it's really interesting, actually. Anyway, but that just made me think about it, where it was like, he's kind of using like, oh, it'll all become CG and it won't be what we like anymore. Whether it's CG or 2D doesn't really make a difference to the conditions in the industry, which are like generally not good. World, like, I don't maybe it's a generalization in its own right to be like all over the world, but like it kind, yeah. Anyway, I still appreciate that he did this and everything, and I'm not knocking the format or anything like that. I just think it could be a bit better, even not even doing like major research, do your research or something. I get that that's not the impetus of this video. He just wants to turn the camera on. He saw something and he wants to talk about it in a casual discussion format. Totally fine. I just think you do like a little, like maybe one more hour of digging to some other sources and stuff. Check out Sakuga blog, check out Full Frontal, follow those people, and keep an eye on them, and maybe they'll come out with something that you want to react to, that I think would be really valuable and substantive to you and to your audience. That's all. And it's not the only not good. Oh man. Yeah, Ramona, discovering the Lost American Gundam adaptations. Guys, so it's three adaptations that she found, and it's from the same Library of Congress thing that she found the other stuff from. I appreciate it's a new branding, not Tales from the Lost anymore. It's just The Vault, and there's a whole more production to it. There's another narrator, so that she gets Rebel Taxi and Saberspark to voice to narrate these pitches, these treatments, which is I think was a good enough way to go about it. It has some just random stock footage to kind of try to illustrate it, but for the most part these are just written treatments and script, like ideas for a TV show that are apparently Gundam adaptations. I don't think the reason it's not good is just I really strain to believe that these had anything to do with Gundam, because it's so obvious that she didn't really engage with it besides a surface level, oh, I may have seen a couple episodes of Gundam Wing or something. I don't know. She doesn't really give any evidence of what convinces her that these were definitely supposed to be from Gundam, that these were supposed to be like Gundam. Like, does it say somewhere? How on earth does this have two of them, the two written ones that Rebel Taxi and Saberspark narrate, have anything to do with Gundam besides satellites, besides like people living on, I guess, but both of them are heavily about aliens. Neither of them have almost anything to do with mecha, with giant robots. They're not centered on them pretty much at all. And she talks about it at the beginning. She's like, yeah, because they got the U.S. Congress Act of 1991, Children's Television Protection, whatever. They had to lay off the war stuff, and they wanted to inject more aliens, do more educational stuff. And it's like, no, but like that still has, even the names, none of there's no naming iconography, and they weren't going to take from Gundam at all. The treatments and scripts don't mention it at all. There's no naming, there's no names, there's no, it's completely unrecognizable. They seem like completely original ideas. And she's like, oh, maybe they took from other stuff, from like other anime of that period, and that she shows Megazone 23, I think that's Megazone 23. I'm not familiar. And I'm like, even I'm not like a big I'm not like seen everything, but even if I didn't, like, you're branding this video as the Lost American Gundam adaptations, and two of them literally have zero to do with Gundam, like actual zero. Like I cannot. The satellite thing, I guess, which was not even a Gundam original idea. Like, Tomino did not just take that and invented that. I'm like, where did you get that from? So I'm completely baffled by that. The thing that she's showing on the thumbnail is from the third thing, which takes up so little of this 25-minute video, which, like, the only reason it's that long is because it takes Rebel Taxi and Saberspark that long to read the entire treatments for both of these shows. That, again, I don't have, I think, have anything to do with Gundam. I was shocked. I was so surprised. It's like not a single thing. Like I don't know if I was overblowing that or not. But like what? And then the third thing was just a teaser. It's like a computer generated trailer with some live action performances a little bit, but mostly narration. And she doesn't have much to say, but she just kind of lets it play at the end. Kind of similar with like the other, like the pilots that she had found with Saint Seiya and everything. But no analysis of it, and I can kind of see that one. I can actually see a little bit of Gundam in, but again, that one has so much more of a concept about these 5 satellites that represent 5 different parts of humanity, some aspects, while the Earth itself is so polluted and can't be lived on. And then they have an issue, so it is kind of like people from Earth, even though I thought no one was on Earth, and a satellite, right? So it's like, okay, and 2 robots are fighting and they clash. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that being Gundam a bit, you know, but there was nothing further than that besides just this one trailer. And that I think she wasn't even going to include it at first. I'm like, that has the most to do with Gundam, and there's very little analysis or attention to it, but it's just so clear to me. It's like she just kind of saw Gundam. She didn't even watch it. She just like looking at the IP and be like, oh, like it just felt like that. I'm like, what is this? It was just I'm happy it's shorter. I'm happy it's not so much about her dramatization of finding materials and finding, you know, digging into some of this stuff. The most she was able to do with the trailer is like identify one of the actors and stuff. Fine, I guess. But it's clearly, I don't think she's engaged with that much with Gundam itself. Like, has I even watched it? I don't think. Maybe she's seen some Wing. Maybe, but she doesn't even comment on how completely unlike. She's like, they may have taken some liberties. It doesn't seem like Gundam at all. It just doesn't. Like, am I crazy? What? I'm not even trying to be like, oh, it has aliens, therefore it's not Gundam. Or, oh, it doesn't have a robot, therefore it's not Gundam. Like, yeah, there's part of that, but like, they read the entire thing. And the first one has more to do with like, aliens are establishing life on Earth, and there's this new jungle, and it doesn't even mention any characters. It's just like a treatment, like, I guess that's what a treatment is, I guess. It's just establishing this world that's, I don't think it has anything to do with satellites. I think they just mention a colony or something, I guess. I couldn't believe it. It was like, this is zero. I can't, if you read this to me, like, what does it sound like? The last thing I would think of is Gundam. What? And the other one is, I remember the title of this one, 4776 or 4776, because it's a play on 1776, because it takes place 3,000 years after the Declaration of Independence, and it's supposed to be a parallel to like aliens created humans and now they're trying to subjugate them again, and then we're rebels just like the British Empire. And I'm like, I guess there's a war to this. I guess so. Are they fighting it with robots? Like, I couldn't. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I just may have missed where it says that, like, yeah, we had the IP for Gundam and this is what we tried to make out of it. I can't. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was really baffled by this video. I didn't know. No. Okay, and now for some videos I thought were decent. Pretty good. This one's from Colleen Manga. She put out a 2023 Shoujosei of the Year Awards. And I appreciated that she did something I haven't really seen, where it's the full video, and that's what's in this playlist, but in Digest at least. But she also put out a live stream premiering the video, but it wasn't a premiere of the video. It was a live stream with the video, and then her live streaming, talking about like kind of as an after award show, garnering some feedback from people and discussing it in a more outward sense, which I appreciated. I missed the first time she did this because she apparently had done this before. And this was out of like, this is sort of like ran as a poll for some things, and then there's some other awards that are just judge based. And just look at, not that I don't know if she'd want my feedback or anything like that. I will say, as someone who's seen some award type videos on YouTube and stuff, and what this obviously reminded me of was Jack's Under the Scope Awards. I like how tight and succinct this was. It didn't feel like this big overblown hour-long commitment or something like that, as Jack's would be. And I really like that she included YouTube guests. She had multiple people like Inaku and Anime T, some other people I unfortunately I didn't quite recognize, and I did make sure I was sub to them. But some of her friends that, you know, as presenters, and I thought it was a really great idea. So similar to r/Anime Awards. And I also liked that this had more of the format of a traditional awards show, with Colleen being a host, having an opening monologue, addressing some people in the crowd, right? And it's some fictional characters and stuff like that. And then, you know, having that banter in between awards and stuff like that, and having this nice cordialness about it, and a little pomp, a little tongue-in-cheek. I thought it was really lovely. It was just like really cute and everything. Yeah, I just thought it was a very endearing element to it, and not so much like really trying to be like packed and serious or anything like that. Some feedback I would give though, I think the categories were really just genres and then the best ones. I get having only a couple of them for curtness, you know, for succinctness and stuff. And in the live stream, someone did recommend, and she did agree, I think, that like they should have more technical awards. Best author, definitely. One thing I would say that I noticed, I was realizing partway through the awards, she was giving the awards to the series itself and kind of like congratulating the characters within it, which is kind of a playful thing, and it led to some interesting kind of fun jokes of like, they couldn't accept this award because XYZ, and like that's fun. But it's like, also, if you want to take this like a serious type of award show, which she mentions in the live stream, where she's like, I don't feel comfortable doing something like a best boy, best girl, because those aren't really, they don't have a sophistication to them, which I agree with. I think the Crunchyroll Awards doing that is a little weird and a little immature, if you know. But I would have liked that the manga, when you say that a series wins a particular award, you credit the actual author, the author and artist. You know, sometimes it's a duo. I think one of the award winners was a artist author duo. But like, you know, giving credit to those creators, right? I was also like kind of not that it's really the awards responsibility for this, but I think especially when the first award goes to Shirayuki Hime, which is not a 2023 series. It's ongoing. It was publishing chapters in 2023, I assume. But a lot of the time awards, anime award shows or stuff like that, there's kind of an awareness that it's within that particular year. And she mentions how like a lot of the awards kind of went heavily towards the ongoing stuff, like the best shoujo, I think best shoujosei in general, like the big award went to Yona of the Dawn, which is not a 2023 series. It's over 10 years old at this point, which is great. I think series like that should deserve some recognition, especially if they are an active series in that year and make a huge difference. Like she says, and like for Yona, that like there was a lot of significant moments that happened, right? It would be like, you know, not including One Piece or My Hero Academia in discussions about 2023 manga. Not to pull it back to shonen, which I know it's like, hey, what we're trying to do here. I get it. Yeah, but like, I do think there could be some dissemination or like a separation with the current the stuff that was published this year. That was actually a new series and everything. And if you were going by like publisher like 7 Seas licensed this, et cetera, and you're only going by the official stuff, which is totally fair, then that's the, something to make a clarification on. And I get like award shows again don't have that responsibility, and it's not really in their nature to explain the rules of the way these things go, and everything. I don't know if the rules were in the description of this video. I think that would make maybe a help to that, because if you like to watch the live version, no, okay. You had linked a video at the description, so I wondered if that was the rules or something. But maybe in the description you have like a document, or write it out in the description of how these were compiled, and how the votes happened, and stuff like that. If you describe the process in the description, that could be a help. And you don't have to kind of bog down the ceremony itself from explaining that, I think. But I think there was some confusion on my end for that, of just like, okay, so like you're including stuff that didn't get published, but obviously we're our recurring series, and it's like I wouldn't, because you don't show the year, you just show volume covers. And that was the other thing for me with the award ceremony. If you have people helping you with crafting these awards, you had someone who was taking care of all the voting stuff, and really assembling that data and everything, which is great. I know it's now within, there's budget and stuff. I don't know if they're just doing it for free or whatever, but like if you had more people involved, especially if you had people presenting and stuff, which you said was like in the live stream, it made it so much easier. You're right, like absolutely. And I think including those technical awards, introducing those technical awards like best art, paneling, character design, I don't know, aspects of manga that are specific, like backgrounds or something like that. The way a lot of anime awards do, the way Jax did a lot as well, where they were broken down very granularly, and then you would see a lot of recurring, manga that would be head to head with each other. They're not necessarily trapped within the same genre as each other. I think when you just had genre, it felt a little stifled and like compartmentalized, and the only time you would have certain manga pitted up against each other would be the big show-stopping awards and stuff like that. Yeah, so like. I think that there could be more categories that are a little more technical. I would hope they maybe try to credit try to get the names of these creators out more, because celebrating their work. And then what I think I was going to say, sorry I keep interrupting myself or whatever, but like if you have delegated to other responsibilities of this award show to other people, I think another delegation could be to showing these series off by more than just the cover. I know that's kind of a demanding thing with manga in particular, but like, yeah, I'm not looking for like a manga MV or something, like a big manga MV, mangamation, whatever. But even just seeing some of the material beyond just the one cover, similar to with awards like the Oscars, for example. They're not going to show just the cover of the movie, or maybe they will for some awards, but for when something's nominated multiple times, they won't just show the same clip. They would show a unique clip, right? Kind of giving you exposure to, and specifically like an aspect that actually bolsters the category that it's in. Like if it was for best costuming, they would show clips or some material that demonstrate why it was nominated in the first place, right? Where if it's just the cover, it's like, yeah, okay. And that's fine. It's not a huge thing or whatever, but I think that would improve the presentation of the awards itself, more so than just the technicalities of like, oh, we should have more categories. Oh, this nomination process could be tweaked about in places. And I think the feedback you were getting in the live stream was good too. But yeah, I just like, I love the concept of this. So I'd want to see it improved. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Otherwise, I thought it was a lot of good fun. Yeah. I'll be full up with you, man. I watched Tracking Shot's video on One Piece, how One Piece mysteries drive you crazy, and I'm drawing a blank. And usually when I draw a blank like this, and I'm like, what? I can't even remember that much about the video to give particulars about it, I usually wouldn't talk about it. But because I'm just like, oh, I don't want to. I've had that happen. And this might be similarly, this segment might just be really curt and like, oh, that had nothing to it or whatever. So I apologize for that, but I still really want to talk about it. because it's One Piece. Come on. And I do have the vibe where like I liked the idea of the video, and I could I enjoyed the discussion. It was just that like the focus. I really liked the parts where you were really illustrating how this series can really fuck with you in terms of like, what do you mean he's never drawn a character with an eye patch? And there was one like about all the devil fruits and stuff, and it reminded me, what do you mean Zoro's never climbed upstairs? What do you mean he's avoided stairs this entire series? Is it because Kuina died falling down the stairs? Oda? It's details like that. It's just like, no way. No, but you mentioned how could people for decades not get the answers to some of these things, and then you're talking about there's kind of a curse with Shanks, how being like he's pitted at his endgame thing, and then he gets no development or whatever. Well, it's not Shanks' story, is it? Not yet, at least. And I mean, you mentioned as much that it's like there's mysterious, long-standing characters, and I'm not going to spoil One Piece here, but there's long-standing characters that this recent arc just gave us everything for. It is completely possible, and I get that like it can suffer. The story can suffer as a whole when Dragon doesn't get a whole lot. Or Shanks and Mihawk as well. I think you kind of identify the weaknesses with him teasing this way when it's character specific. But how much of that is really going to factor into the story when they mean so much? Each of those characters that you mention, maybe even besides Dragon, actually, even just Dragon, it's like, well, even Sakazuki you also mention. All of them are fitting that purpose. And the reason things are like and the way things are, to telling this particular story about Luffy and the Straw Hats. I think his dad not having that much to him. I think he's definitely made a he's significant, and yes, I think we have yet to see his real true whatever. But him being so standoffish in the story, I feel is no different from like Rayleigh being so standoffish and not having as much. Rayleigh's had more action we've seen. But the reason they're all like this is for particular reasons, and they have their own agendas and stuff. Agenda piece, that I don't want to put any indictments or judgments on until the story is done. I think that observation of world stuff is completely good and fine and no problem with it, versus character stuff, it suffers those characters a lot when you're like, well, why are they just sitting there? Like, why aren't they doing anything? I'm not Oda. I don't have the clear solutions to that. I always thought that like it was great to have Sakazuki restricted and chained to the desk there, because that was what he wanted, and he probably realized that's not what he was best for. Or kind of like realizing up close and like, because he fought Kuzan over that, and to get it, and to not and try to, I'm gonna clean this place up, I'll make a difference, and him probably realizing that something, maybe that's not, because that it makes sense that he just stays there and he gets locked in that position, especially now the existence of it. Also, I don't want to like. Actually with people's expectations with One Piece, I think, but like Mihawk is not guaranteed, in my opinion. Not that I'm like he's a fraud. Like no. I really just think that there's something more to him, and there's a reason that he's the first warlord we meet, but the last one we know anything about. All things considered, he's the last warlord that we pretty much know anything about, and as well as Shanks. I think there's been enough bits of him, and he's been used in the story well enough that like I don't care. It's great. It's peak. I don't care. No, what was I gonna? Actually about was Sakazuki. Oh yeah. So like. I don't think Luffy has a particular beef with Sakazuki. It would make sense there's logic to that, but you think about, like, when he's reacting to what happened with Ace, he's not directing that ire at Sakazuki specifically. He's not really directing it at anyone. If anything, he's directing it on himself, because he's like, I couldn't save him. I failed. He had to protect me, right? And so I don't know how much Luffy is really having a vendetta against Sakazuki, and it's necessary for them to fight again or to meet again. I don't see it. He has it makes sense when he had his reaction to Kizaru specifically. He has a relationship with Kazan and Kizaru for their direct interactions with not just Luffy but the Straw Hats specifically. You know, Sakazuki doesn't have that as much. He certainly has something to do. It's not nothing. It's not nothing what he did, but yeah, I just think that there's more to it and I don't necessarily see that, because then it's going to the bigger, you know, everyone's kind of expecting, like, oh, then Luffy has to be Emu too, right? You know, I don't think he sees, you know, he's never met the Gorosei, right? He doesn't know who Emu is. Very few people know who Emu is. That's the thing. Why, right? What he needs is the direct contact. Like, what does that person directly do to them to get him to beat their ass? And in the case of, you know, the latest chapter, which the next one, the last frame was dude punching a dude, 1103, I can see Luffy having a reason to react against him because of what he did. Luffy doesn't know any of that, doesn't know what we know about that character, but like, you know, but what you're saying, that reminds me, right? When you're like, I've only read it 3 years ago and I'm pulling my hair out at not knowing the answers to some of these things, right? And it's like, well, some of these people have read it for decades. Like, can you imagine people like Kraftsdorf not knowing who the other two Yonko are for that long? I don't even remember. I don't even know the first time we learned their name or see them. You know, I definitely not in the pre-time skip, you know? And those mysteries of D and these other things have been established long before that. The Gorosei is another example. Like, we only just and you mentioned as much, that, like, oh, Egghead, oh, we're finally learning some things, right? And it's like, yeah, that's all it is. It's just him getting to that point, and he's known how he's going to be doing that all this time. He's like, originally it's going to be like this, and then he added these other elements in, and it's created as big as it is. It's not like he's had it all planned, but this final saga, what he was expecting to do with Shanks, what he's expecting to do with what the One Piece is, what the last chapter is, what the last panel is, he's had that in mind, as he says, since the beginning. So I'm saying you don't trust him or anything, of course. But yeah, that's why I'm not chomping at the bit for this stuff. I'm also not chomping at the bit because it's way more than just the mysteries. There's certainly a strong appeal for a lot of people. And I thought it was weird that now I'm finally remembering some things that I'm happy I talked about it, because I was actually able to juice some stuff up from what I remember of your video. But I mentioned it's like, I always thought One Piece was just about the action. Oh, just about beating bad guys. I'm like, yeah. I don't know, but like, I'm surprised. It's like you also would kind of boil it down to just it's a lot of action, but it's mystery too, guys. I would have preached this time and time and time again, as much as I possibly can. The best part about One Piece is how fucking funny it is. It's so funny. It has so many good jokes, and it's consistently optimistic and imaginative and fun. It's really fun. It's mysterious too. It's got a lot of good action. It's fun in part because of the action, but I definitely wasn't a fan of One Piece because of the action. Oh my gosh, no. I'll watch Naruto for that. But man, no. So that was something that stuck out to me, and I was just like, yeah, I know that's what your focus is, just the is in the mysteries part. And you could go even further deep in terms of like the crazy stuff he's mentioned and the chapter names and theories and shit like that, of course. And that is a lot due to that is a lot of part of One Piece's success. But I don't know, it was just not a flaw of the video to not be like, oh, it's funny too, guys. It's not like this is the video is an appeal of One Piece type of video or something. But it just made me think. It just made me realize, which was like, oh yeah, there it is again. That like so many One Piece YouTubers or people who make One Piece videos just completely bury the fact that it's so funny to start with. It's just okay. Anyway, I did enjoy the video. It was a good time. Yeah, I think I finally fixed that stupid beam of light. And I would have thought were the best videos of the week. Yeah, three. I'm gonna get it. This could teeter on decent and best, whatever. But I don't care. Abroad in Japan. Oh, great channel. Oh my gosh. This is another. Again, it's another channel where like I've talked about some videos of the previous, but I haven't talked about every video of his or anything. In fact, I missed a lot of the recent ones. For some reason, this was just one that I was just like, I wonder what this video is about, because it's somebody keyed my new Japanese car, and it's not about a particular thing that they do or place that they go. It's just a particular event, and I don't know. So it was kind of a mystery in that it worked. The title and thumbnail actually worked. And he's meeting up with Joey in this one, and Joey's really fun in this. I think they have a great dynamic. I have to tell you, Chris, very YouTuber, very strategically, teased his previous video where he's like, oh, when we did this and we swapped accents, his previous video was like eating the worst convenience store food, and like, yeah, okay, another one of these, right? But what was great was that his fiance was in it, and they swap accents, so he has to do an American accent the whole time, and she has to do a British one, and his reactions to her British is so funny. And then him doing it, his even the narration was in an American accent, just so freaking funny. That's why I just invest, even though maybe not this video and everything. It was just the combined experience of just watching some Chris videos. He's so good, dude. Such great on-camera presence, great camera skills with the people that are filming him and everything. So polished and informative and thoughtful. This one, it's a lot of it's surrounded the challenge of just decorating the Ant-Pan Man challenges he does just to spice the videos up, just like, well, what are we doing here? And decorating his crew's van, like the 5 or 6 people that he's traveling with, making this video, I guess, which is really cool, because he has like the whole team and everything. It's really, and then the video, it kind of involves them in that way, and I like that. But then like the thumbnail title and there's like it's like a happenstance. He just kind of zones in on this, like somebody kind of like scratched a bunch of glass on his windshield has a bunch of scratches, and then he does some sleuthing with Joey and everything, and that was fun, and figured it kind of like surmised what happened. It's just like a really like happenstance sort of vloggy type thing, but it's just like really engaging. But then staying in the but then like even pack some like kind of modern commentary, like some like stuff that like of what's going on in Japan. It's like, in the 10 years I've been here, the nightlife is completely declined, completely off a shelf because of an aging population and COVID. And he gives an example. There's like, these streets here, used to be like a lot more, but now they're a lot quieter. And so some of these bars have shut down, and they've turned them into these hotels. And so they explore a little bit like that. And it's again a similar formula he's done before, but it's like, it's not like, maybe it's redundant to some people, but I still really enjoy it. And yeah, so there's little bits of like, thoughtful commentary in that as well. Anyway, it's lovely. I just love his vids so much. Love talking about them. Yeah, they're great. I did catch this Argonbolt video on Gundam and Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack review retrospective. 97 minutes. Talking about one movie. I think the movie is shorter. I don't know how long the movie is. I have to see. But yeah, I like that the framing device throughout it was really like nobody understands it, and taking it from that perspective and trying to explain the things of the movie. Even though the thing that bothered me the most about it is certainly, and he admits as much as it bothered him when he first watched it, and I think he gives a good enough explanation, and I don't think it would bother me as much on rewatch. But I definitely think for a movie of Char's counterattack, it really didn't feel like a big kind of thing between Char and Amuro. It kind of felt like a lot of the same, and then like a replay almost, and then the actual focus seemed to be on these characters that just get introduced that movie and we don't give a shit about, and the outcome is not really that engaging and sucks. So that was my recollection when first watching that, but that was before I was Tomino pilled. That was years ago. So I'm now watching Double Zeta, and I'm looking forward to rewatching Zeta someday. I have no idea. I don't know when, but I do want to at some point. But then yeah, like it makes sense to focus on the actual kind of the meat of the movie itself. But of course, he excels here at the production history, all the interviews he's citing, the research he's done, the background, especially the Japanese history stuff. I really there were certain events I like, there's certain Japanese events that I hear over and over in some videos, like the sarin gas attacks, or including these like student protests, and which was kind of looped into this protesty period. But this was the first time I heard about this really extensive period with the Narita airport, the development of it, because I thought that was going to be like something about I don't know if it was the same airport, but like that terrorist hijacking that references Ashino Joe or whatever. I thought it was like, oh, it's that. But no, it's something different. And then these two other events that have just perfect parallels to Char's counterattack. And there's like such a firm historical relevance to the movie. Why Char is doing what he's doing, despite it not making any difference, and in fact making things worse. His motivation for that, his perspective. I just thought that was all really interesting, really substantive and additive, even though those are the same words. I'm sorry. Man, it was really informative. I think this was the first time where I've watched one of these videos and actually watched it physically and not simply kind of put it on in the background mostly. Like I remember doing the Gundam video last year. I was helping to paint my parents' basement as I was doing that, and I had a little hazmat suit on and everything, and I was just listening to that, and that helped me through kind of a grueling work day or whatever. And then the Zeta one, I actually was doing a lot of pricing and inventory or something in like that June for this other thing, so I'd listen to that in the background as well. With more watching it, I was able to kind of watch that a little bit more, but for the large part, I was still listening to it. This one I pretty much had my full attention and everything. I think the text occasionally works really well in terms of like the saying what you're saying and then putting it in quotes and stuff, and sometimes overlapping and stuff. I think it worked sometimes, but other times it felt a little overbearing or not sure what to put here, like type of deal. Like it just feels a little ancillary. I don't know if that's the right word. Not all that like you go out of your way to do these sort. I think especially if you overdo it, if you do that text too many times, I could tell that you're really trying to emphasize the point that you're trying to make by putting it in text. But you had so many points that you wanted to emphasize that you put a lot of it in text, so it ended up being kind of like it lessens the impact or dilutes the impact almost, yeah. And then I don't know what there were some instances where having the anime footage subbed makes sense because you're directly referencing what they're talking about, the script wise. But there's a lot of other moments where it was like strange that it had the subtitles on it as well. It was like kind of distracting when like that Gundam in particular. I can understand. I can figure you, especially if it's just one movie, you should be able to have a version without the subs on it. And that's just like a nitpick or something. Yeah, and there's stuff like that that's fine. But I think this one, more so than the other video, I don't know if I noticed it so much in the other ones, but this one felt like it relied a lot more on the one kind of looping BG with some explosions in the back, but it's the meteor that's right there with Earth and everything, and you're displaying all this stuff in front of that. I thought that was a good implementation, good usage of that BG, and a good way to kind of like, you know, throw things on and everything. Yeah, I thought it was good. You know, then I think there were some instances where I think the quotes being referenced multiple times was a little was also like repetitive. I think the shocking thing, like the February 26th incident, I knew you were going to get back to that, and you say as much you're going to get back to it, but then you treat it as like this big twist. They're like, remember that date sounds familiar. Well, wouldn't it? Like, I'm an astute watcher. I know what you're talking about. But if you didn't show that quote earlier, and that is probably a necessity or whatever, the script wise and everything, but if you hadn't shown that before and didn't like try to foreshadow and tease it later in the video and everything, if you don't do that as much, then when those moments come, is like, wow, oh, okay, wow, all right, yeah. You know, I would have been able to kind of see that, I guess, without you having to tease it, and then the teasing is just like, and then like the big grab it, like, wow, made it aha moment. It doesn't feel like an aha moment. It's like, oh, about time moment, you know, and then that doesn't have as much of an impact, I guess. Yeah, but definitely put it in a better perspective. Love the production stuff, especially like starting out with that, and I think that could be like, to some, it might like algorithm wise, it might actually throw. I don't know if YouTube loves that, yeah, right? Like viewer retention probably nosedives when you start with that sort of production and everything, but it's so vital important you start with that and giving it that context and framework, and not just leading step forward with your best stuff, because like where else would you put that? You know, would you give away the best parts of it with you talking about the history and your personal history and the themes and everything like that at the front, and then put the mechanical design stuff at the end? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then some video essay with some people would just be like, that just don't include it at all, make it its own video or whatever. But if you want to make a whole retrospective, it makes sense to have it all there. So it was like, this makes sense, despite having to bite the bullet about potential retention, or maybe it's still good, I don't know. Anyway, it was a great video. Thank you for sending it to me, and looking forward to I don't know what they're doing next, because I figure the shower's kind of this is the end of the Universal Century stuff. Maybe you're going into Unicorn, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure what's next, but looking forward to it. But yeah, I gotta give it to the best video of the week, to something that it validates me. So why wouldn't I love it? Why wouldn't it be in the best video? Like, of course. Merphy Napier talking about the watching the most iconic anime scenes and crying a bunch. And it's like, yeah, I'm an anime fan now. I think I like anime. And I'm like, yeah. So like, super heckin' validating, dude. Of course, and I'll admit my bias to that. But when she mentioned that seeing the anime as a way to experience a story in a slightly different way, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but it's just different. I feel the exact same way about the manga, because I watched the anime first, and I'm gonna have a bias towards the anime the same way. But then seeing Alexander react to it, reading the manga, and me having not experienced the manga and everything, and seeing what's a 2-page spread and stuff that he drew and everything like that, and the way he drew stuff, and the paneling and everything, it's the exact same feeling. I just experience the moments in a slightly different angle or a slightly different way. Without sound, without music, without voice acting, okay, without color. I don't get why. Anyway, I'm not make my argument here. I understand, and she's a reader first. I'm just happy that she experienced the story at all, and that she's now willing to engage with it in the anime as well. Potentially watching it week to week, not reviewing it week to week, which is totally fine. Totally fine. Like this, with anime, with weekly production, everything, they're going to put their best foot forward in certain episodes and stuff, and so you can expect certain scenes and everything to do really well, or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll realize what you expect to be a standout blockbuster episode. They got to do this right. They have other priorities. They're like, actually, we have only this many resources. We're going to divert our resources here, 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 and here. And that's what we can do. That is what we are physically, tangibly able to do with the time that we have, with the circumstances we have. Thankfully, there's some animators that are killer, that we can, it gets better, or where, that's the advantage and disadvantage of anime production, Yeah, but it was really funny, just how many emotional scenes she'd watched in a row, and then had, like, the only things that people, I guess, could recognize, because she's not sifting through the whole anime herself. There's people sending her the big moments, but they're just trying to make her cry for 2 hours. And I'm happy. That's fine. I too like to cry to One Piece. But it is like there's a couple, like, the most some people could do with, like, really tiny small comedic moments, which is fine, because I think that's how One Piece delivers its comedy. It's not in these big grand gags or anything. It's in a lot of small moments that it stitches these big emotional moments together. People are it's the thing is, like, people know One Piece and boil it down to Luffy help me, I want to live, the backstories and stuff like that, and the big emotional drama stuff, and maybe some big action set pieces. It's like, yeah, I checked out some action too, and everything. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but it's interesting that it's like it's different from watching an episode. And I watched her first anime episode review of the first Egghead episode. I think she did a great job in that, kind of similarly paced, like the way she breaks down a chapter, kind of going through it without necessarily reacting to it. And I like that she really drew a line about not making reaction content. That's not what she's interested in making, even though I think she implied she's not good at it, which I completely disagree. What she was I'm happy she recorded her reactions to this stuff, because that's obviously what I was curious about, and what I see in the thumbnail, and I want to see, like, because the whole value of reaction content is exactly what you're talking about. It's like validating and investing, experiencing it all over again through another person, because you can't necessarily watch this stuff yourself a second time. Maybe you obviously can, but it's not the same as the first. So seeing someone else's first time is a vicarious reaction of when you saw it for the first time, so that's the intrinsic value of it, at least to me. There's the commentary too, of course, that's also really nice, but usually with reaction stuff, whether it's an episode or a One Piece chapter, I've been following mostly Recon and Rogers Base's reviews of the chapters when they're recording their first times reading it. I've already read the chapter myself, and lately I've been recording it, my own reaction, because it's even good for posterity for myself, because I don't know what the first thing that goes through my head when I first saw a panel versus hindsight 20 chapters late. I don't know, like, but I'll be able to watch these back and like, I had no idea, because none of us had any idea, right? That's what's so cool about archiving this stuff, and what was our feelings about this and that chapter with what we know now, type of deal, and archiving that in a way. That's what I take about for my recording my own reactions, I guess. But I'm happy you do, because like you're great at it, actually. It doesn't matter if you're not saying anything and you're just, which I understand, like, watching yourself cry can be difficult or kind of emotional and everything. And I can understand the vulnerability to that too. Like you have in the video, there's a caption at one point. It's like, okay, I'm already sick of watching myself cry. That's totally fair. If you don't want to put that content out, that's totally cool. That's great. In fact, I really liked the compromise you gave, where this is what the audience really wants, but you don't want to put that stuff out with turning yourself into that sort of channel. I completely get that. So I like the compromise where you do have the reaction existing. You're not robbing of them completely, but you have complete control of that reaction. You're only showing the certain bits that you want to show, but what you want to put forward is this presentation, like talking about it kind of off the cuff or whatever, and describing it in this way, which I think is totally heckin' valid and like really cool, like a really awesome control of, like, as a creator. Like I'm the one who has, you know, I'm the one that has the say, really. I'm not just at the whims of my audience. I love that. I really do. But I was really happy with this. I like your observations a lot, and I'm so happy that you're warmed up to anime now, and seeing the value in it and everything, and not letting too much of the negativity around One Piece's anime getting to you too much, because man I'm looking forward to trying to battle that. I don't think that I'll really succeed. I'm one person, but yeah, you know, you do bring up some things like, this is not about the lows, this is about the, yeah, which is fair. And there's certain things that the latest episode was focusing on, which, like, I mean, yeah, that is what Oda drew. He kind of, I think they are just kind of adapting it the way that makes sense, because that is what you want. He knows that, like, especially with, like, your rewatch value and everything, I think having that knowledge about her, about Bonnie, seeing these scenes does make you feel a certain way. This is supposed to make you feel a particular way, I think. And maybe letting people on or whatever, I don't know. I think it's very intentional, but I understand the uncomfortableness. I totally get it. And that does not deserve harassment. And not that you're doing that. I was just seeing, apparently the animators are being harassed because of this choice, and I don't think that's necessary. Anyway, not to make it all about that. Love the video. I love what you're doing. Looking forward to. I'm not going to expect an episode every week. Definitely not. But yeah, I'm happy you're dabbling in this space, even though you're squarely a reader first and foremost, which is mad respect. Totally fair. Yeah, great vid. Okay, and that'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.